Hey guys, it is your girl Tasha, the Hope Pusher, and y'all know I believe that one conversation can help somebody move from where they are to where they want to be. And while every conversation isn't for everybody, my hope is that every conversation is actually for somebody. So let's talk about it. Yesterday, I put a post up on my page. It was just the words, and that's inspiring today's conversation. And that post said, don't let a bad 15 minutes convince you that you've had a bad life. All right? Just think about that. Don't let a bad 15 minutes convince you that you had a bad life. I mean, have you ever really noticed how quickly our minds can do that the moment that something happens, right? We might get a phone call that throws us off balance because of what the person says on the call, or maybe we'll have a disagreement with somebody in that moment, and it's just like, what in the world is going on? Perhaps we make a mistake, right? And then that mistake makes us start thinking all these crazy things, or all of a sudden there's a bill that comes out of nowhere, right? You might go to a doctor's appointment and the doctor might say something that is concerning at the moment and it's a disappointment to you, right? And before we know it, our mind just starts running and we begin to just question everything, right? We don't just question that moment any longer. We begin to question everything. We start saying things to ourselves like, nothing ever works out in my favor. My life is just a mess. I can't catch a break. Everything just keeps going wrong. But when we really take a moment and reflect on it, right, that moment at hand, is everything really going wrong? Or did one thing just go wrong? Because those two things are really different things. It's funny how we'll take a moment and we'll turn that thing into a whole conclusion, right? It's like a person reading a chapter of a book and acting like that's the whole book. Or for you to take a season of your life and act like that season determines who you are or your identity, right? One mistake suddenly just means that we are a failure. Doesn't matter how many good things we've done, how many things we succeeded at, right? That one rejection that comes out of nowhere suddenly means that nobody wants us. Why is it that we do that? I know I'm not the only one that thinks about that. As humans, I know that I'm not the only one, that there has to be somebody else that can relate to that idea that our mind just takes control and can throw us off and make us forget about God's blessings. One mistake doesn't erase what God has done for us. It doesn't change every door that He's opened for us. It doesn't change every prayer over time that He's answered for us. It doesn't erase every hurdle or every obstacle that He's brought us through, every storm that He's brought us through. And it definitely is not going to erase the fact that He woke you and I up this morning. Not the alarm clock, but God woke us up this morning. I mean, think about it. There's people who laid down last night and they did not wake up today. Yet here you and I are, breathing, listening, living, scrolling. I mean, you were scrolling when you found me, right? We still have an opportunity to make another decision because He woke us up. We still got the opportunity to try again because He woke us up. And we still have the opportunity to grow because He woke us up. And you grow by realizing that bad moments or mistakes are actually lessons that you can learn from. Sometimes we just become too focused on what went wrong in our lives, and we stop thanking God for everything that went right. You know, praise Him in the good times and praise Him in the bad times, I think is what a lot of pastors say. And what's really interesting is the fact that when we're hurting, we suddenly become experts on everything that's gone wrong. It's like Verizon when I worked there, and they talked about customer service, and the customer's going to remember that one bad experience. They could have had 10,000 good experiences. Why do we forget everything that went right in those moments? We forget the prayers that were answered. We forget the opportunities that we were given. We forget that there's people out there that actually love us. And we forget all the battles that we've already survived, all the storms that we've already seen the sun come out on the other side. We forget how we've overcome so many things already. And I'm going to tell you, when we're doing that, it's a dangerous place to be, because gratitude and perspective go hand in hand. Take a moment and just think about what blessings are you overlooking in that moment that doesn't feel so good when you're focusing on your frustrations. I want us to be honest with ourselves. There are some moments that they hurt. They really do hurt. They're really painful. Okay? There's some stuff that be going down when life be lifing that's truly unfair. And I'm not telling you to put on that mask and pretend that it doesn't matter, right? I don't want nobody out there faking positivity. But what I am saying is that do not give a bad moment authority that it doesn't deserve. A bad moment is not a bad life. A bad day is not a bad future. A bad season is not a bad story. And sometimes we find ourselves making permanent tongue-tied. Sometimes we find ourselves making permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. What we feel at that time is not reality. One of the reasons why we shouldn't judge our lives by 15 minutes is because the story isn't over. We're just judging a book that's still being written. We're judging a movie before the ending even happens. And we're judging a testimony before the breakthrough. I mean, you can't have a testimony until you have the breakthrough. How many times has God brought you through something that you thought would break you? How many times have you really looked back and realized that when you thought He wasn't there for you, He was there all the time? That you're stronger than you thought, that you actually made it through, that you are a survivor, and more importantly, He hadn't forsaken you because He wasn't finished with you. Sometimes the best things that we could do, guys, instead of zooming in on the one moment, is to zoom out. And if we zoom out, instead of looking at the last 15 minutes, it allows us to look at the last 15 years. Instead of looking at today's disappointments, it allows us to look at everything that we've overcome over time. And instead of focusing on the one thing that went wrong, We could count 5 things that went right. Because again, perspective changes everything, and you only get perspective when you're grateful for what you've been through, what you came through, and you can only see that by zooming out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you with this. Again, don't let a bad 15 minutes convince you that you've had a bad life. Don't let one mistake erase years of growth. Don't let one disappointment erase a lifetime of blessings. And don't let one setback make you forget how faithful God has been and how He always will be. And don't let your chapter convince you that you reached the end of your book. Because the truth is, if you're listening to me right now, God is still writing your story. It's not over yet. And you have control of how you respond to those bad moments when they happen. You get to decide whether or not you allow them to rent space in your head. Don't give them the permission that they don't deserve. Remember, it's your girl Tasha, and I'm telling you, YGT, you got this. And y'all know, I'm just Bam, being authentically me. So anyway, guys, for those who this conversation was for, it ain't over yet. You got this. It don't got you. Later.